Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really plunge into some fascinating claims and pull out the most important bits for you. Today, we're heading into territory that really challenges how we think about life, death, the whole thing. Specifically, direct communication with the deceased. We're looking at a researcher, Steve Huff of Paranormal, and his device, the Wonderbox Gold. It's not just what he claims he's achieved, but also the incredible human story behind it all. Can tech really cross that divide? Or does our deep, deep need for connection sometimes will shape what we find? Our mission then is to unpack Steve Huff's claims and see what his really personal dedication tells us about chasing these huge goals. Okay, let's unpack this. So Steve Huff, in the source material we looked at, he sounds, well, absolutely buzzing. He actually says he's crazy excited, uber excited, after doing some kind of tweak to his Wonderbox Gold. And he makes this huge claim. He's almost there to cracking that code, to getting that pure one-on-one telephone to the dead style of communication.
Right, and the really crucial bit, he's very specific about what this pure communication doesn't have.
He says no static, no crackle, no pop, no radio bits, and no other contamination besides pure spirit voices. Pure voices.
And what's fascinating there is the absence of those things, the lack of those common artifacts you usually hear about with ITC, instrumental transcommunication. Normally, with things like spirit boxes, you expect bits of radio, static, background noise. And that's exactly why many skeptics say, well, it's just pareidolia or our brain finding patterns, or it's just stray radio signals. So Steve's claim of pure spirit voices, it directly counters those typical explanations. It suggests something much more direct, unmediated. If it's real, that's a massive leap.
It really is. But, the whole field of ITC, it's filled with debate, right? The challenge is about proof, about getting that clear, verifiable communication. So what makes Steve's claim here, this pure communication idea, potentially different, enough to maybe overcome those old hurdles?
Well, according to him, the key difference is that purity, that clarity. You see, most people working in ITC, they kind of acknowledge there's some fuzziness, some contamination in the results. Steve's saying he's got a level of clarity that if you could consistently demonstrate it, well, it would force everyone to rethink things. But the difficulty, the real challenge, is always isolating and proving what is a pure spirit voice versus, say, other sounds or even just how we interpret things. How do you get that objective, repeatable proof that goes beyond just one person's experience? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Definitely. And this is where it gets really interesting, thinking about his commitment. When you hear about the Wonderbox Gold, you have to grasp the sheer scale of his personal investment here. He talks about 7 years of research and development and testing on these kinds of devices. And specifically, the last 2 years were hardcore time just focused on the Wonderbox itself. And it's not just time, right? It's many, many years of his life and tens of thousands of dollars poured into this one goal.
Wow, tens of thousands.
Yeah. And he sounds incredibly proud of it. He says, I'm not a guy that goes around and toots my own horn, but in this case, I should be because it's absolutely amazing. And then there's nothing in the world like a Wonderbox Gold. Nothing.
That kind of investment, years of your life, that amount of money, it shows an incredible depth of passion, doesn't it? A really powerful belief in what you're doing. It's that kind of drive that makes people push boundaries, especially in areas that are, let's face it, pretty unconventional or often met with skepticism.
Yeah.
It really speaks to an almost obsessive level of dedication.
That commitment is just wow. Is that common, though, for individuals to put so much personally on the line for research like this, research that isn't really verified by the mainstream? What fuels that kind of intense focus, especially when, mainstream science might just dismiss it?
Actually, it's perhaps more common than you might think, especially for people working outside those big institutional structures, like universities or corporations. Often, the drive stems from a really deep personal conviction. Maybe it was sparked by a specific experience they had, or it's a lifelong curiosity, maybe a powerful desire to validate phenomena they genuinely believe they're encountering. When the usual paths for research aren't really open to you, or if you feel you're onto something truly revolutionary that others just aren't seeing, well, that personal investment becomes everything. It's the engine. It stops being about seeking outside approval and becomes much more about pursuing an internal truth, a personal quest.
Okay, so back to the communication itself. What does he say these pure conversations are actually like? He claims it's spirits answering your questions and conversing with you like they're in the room with you, because they are. It's a direct quote. And then get this. He says, the spirits apparently helped me create this device. And they even acknowledge it.
Helped create it. Wow.
Yeah. He shares some examples from this minute-long audio clip he made. He says you hear a spirit saying things like, "It's working. Thank you. You are amazing. You guys are amazing. You help me every time I test something." Then Steve apparently asks, "Do you know you helped me create this box?" And the reply comes back, "You most certainly did, so thank you. It's finally happening."
That's quite specific.
It is. And there's another bit where a voice says, "Find the light. Do you see the light in me? I'm still confused." And Steve tries to follow up, asking things like, "Are you spirits, or are you from another planet or dimension? You did tell me before you said spirits, but you also mentioned something about dimensions." And then he concludes, "See, we're having conversations now."
That really is a huge conceptual jump, isn't it? Compared to what you usually hear reported from ITC work. Typically, you get these short phrases, often fragmented, maybe a single word, and they're very open to interpretation, loads of ambiguity. But this, if these claims of detailed back-and-forth conversations are accurate, where specific questions get direct answers, and where these entities supposedly even talk about making the device, that would completely change the game. It's not just communication anymore, well, it's collaboration almost.
But even with all this excitement, Steve Huff does seem grounded in one way. He admits it's not perfect yet. He thinks it might take another year before I perfect this to where it's even clearer.
Okay, so still refining.
Right. But that doesn't seem to shake his belief at all. He says quite strongly, "All this time I've put into this work and research has been worth it just for this result." And he sounds genuinely thrilled about what's next. Just, "I cannot wait to see what comes of this."
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it really highlights how development works, doesn't it? Even in these more unusual fields, nothing's ever truly perfect right out of the gate. There's always that process of iteration, refinement, trying to make it, as he says, even clearer. And what keeps someone going through all that, especially for something this ambitious, it has to be that immense passion, that belief in the potential breakthrough. It's that vision of what could be, coupled with the conviction that the effort is worthwhile, that fuels years of work, trying to bridge that gap between belief and ultimately demonstrable proof.
So pulling it all together then, what's the big message Steve Huff seems to want to get across? He tells his audience basically, show people what's happening with afterlife research. This is real. It's happening. He says, it's now we're on that edge of breaking ground. Well, we already did that, but we're almost there. He's clearly signaling this as a major moment. And his final word on the device itself is just emphatic. There's nothing like this box. There's nothing like this box in the world and what it can do.
Thinking about all that, the implications, if any of this holds true, are just enormous, aren't they? Imagine if a device like this Wonderbox Gold really could provide clear, two-way conversations with whoever or whatever is on the other side.
Yeah.
It would fundamentally challenge our core beliefs about life, death, consciousness itself. It could open up completely new ways to explore, both scientifically and personally. It prompts you to think about a reality where that line between dimensions isn't just thin, but maybe crossable, purposefully. And beyond that, it just underlines that incredible human desire, doesn't it? To push frontiers, to understand the unknown, and maybe, just maybe, to reconnect with what lies beyond.
And that's our deep dive for today. Steve Huff's Wonderbox Gold, his claims of pure conversational spirit communication. It's definitely a story about dedication, about trying to innovate, and that relentless human drive to bridge what many see as the final frontier.
So what really stands out to you as you listen to this? Is it the idea that technology might actually bridge dimensions? Or is it more about that incredible human drive itself that need to connect with whatever might be beyond our current grasp? Or maybe it just makes you wonder, what kind of evidence would it really take to shift our collective understanding of the unknown?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. As always, we encourage you to keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring those fields that really push the edges of what we think we know.